Okay, so up top, at the top of that page on 433, it's just talking about what we already did. You can use the distance formula to find the distance between 2 points on a coordinate plane. You can use the model from the key concept, which is on the other page, to see how the distance formula is used based on the Pythagorean theorem. So our a squared plus b squared equals c squared is still true, but this time instead of a, we're saying the change in our x's, so x2 minus x1, and then our change in y's, which is y2 minus y1. Everything else stays the same, and then you get c by yourself by taking the square root of it. Okay? So, in the problem that we're going to work on is example 2. On the map over here, it shows us that each unit represents 45 miles. West Point, New York, is located at 1 5/10, 2, and Annapolis, Maryland, is located at -1 5/10, -1 5/10. What is the approximate distance between West Point and Annapolis? What is a key word in there? Approximate. So it's not going to be exact. If we have to round, we'll round to the nearest tenth. And then, Landon, what else did you say?
Each unit represents 45 miles.
Each unit represents 45 miles. So over here, this is 1 unit. Technically, that represents 45 miles. That's what that's saying. Okay, so we'll need that later on. First of all, let's identify our 2 points. So let's say the first point that we're given, West Point, is point 1, or let's call it A. And then this one would be point B. So on your guided notes here, we have point A, and what's its coordinate points?
1.5.
1 5/10, 2. So then this is point B, and its point is
-1.5.
okay. You see here, this is the distance formula. They give it to you. Our first step using this distance formula is to substitute using that. So x2 is what? -1.5 minus, what is x1?
1.5.
Okay,
I cannot write.
quantity squared. And then you have, what is y2? -1.5 minus y1? 2. Okay, so the first point is we just substituted using the distance formula. Next step, what do you have to do first to solve? We're going to have to subtract to the parentheses. So if you're down 1 5/10 and you go further down 1 5/10, where are you at? -3. If you're down 1 5/10 and you go down 2 more feet, where are you at? -3.5. -3. So what would we do next?
Do the exponent thing.
Exponents or squares, yes. Okay, so -3 times -3.
9.
Good. And then -3 5/10 times -3 5/10.
12.25. So with that
12.25.
We're just going to leave it as 12.25. Don't round until the very end. Don't round until the very end. So then you have 9 plus 12 and 25 hundredths. What would I do? 21 and 25 hundredths, but we have to take the square root of that. So what is our answer rounded to the nearest tenth?
4.6.
4.6.
Wow, trust me.
Okay. Any questions on the steps on solving the distance formula?
No.
We substituted, then we used PEMDAS. Okay? Are we done on this problem?
No.
No.
Multiply by 4.
Because this is 4 6/10 units. Our question asked us what?
Miles.
We need to know how many miles. So how many miles is 1 unit?
45.
45. So what am I going to do to figure out what 4 6/10 units is worth?
Multiply.
45 times 4.5.
Good. 45 times 4.6. This is not part of the distance formula. This is just part of the question. What?
200. What? 207.
207. And we would label it miles. Questions on that one?
No.
Okay, so these guided notes kind of help keep you organized, right? And they kind of help with the substitution. You're not going to always have the guided notes. I'm not going to give you the guided notes on tests or things like that. I will let you use them for a couple of problems, but then you kind of got to start figuring out it on your own, right?
But didn't you?
Okay.
But you gave me most of you.
Unacceptable.
You can use this, but they're not going to be blank. All right, so we're going to do our next one on that one right next to it. Where'd my... Well, Cromwell Field is located at 2 5/10, 3 5/10, and how do you say that? It's French. Mrs. Branda say.
Just like that.
Mrs. Branda says it was French, and I didn't remember how she said it.
Oh,
Field at
Yeah.
1 5/10, 4 5/10 on a map. If each map unit is 1/10 of a mile, about how far are the fields apart? Okay, so what's important to know from there? About, so it's not going to be exact, so we'll probably have to round. What else? Each map unit is 1/10 of a mile. Let's call this coordinate A and this coordinate B. So then if I write them down here in my guided notes, A, what's its coordinate points?
2.5,
2 5/10, 3 5/10. B's points are what? 1 5/10, 4 5/10. Okay, when I substitute, what is x2? What is x2? 1 5/10 minus x1, quantity squared, plus what is y2? Minus y1. What would I do first to solve? Subtract. What's 1 5/10 minus 2 5/10? Negative 1 and negative 1. What is 4 5/10 minus 3 5/10?
1.
1. Then what would I do? I do the exponent. So negative 1 squared is? 1 squared is? So then what would I do? I'd add them, so I get the square root of 2. So when you type in the square root of 2 in your calculator, what do you get?
1.4.
I think it's a irrational number. So you round it to 1 4/10 units. Going back to our question though, what is it wanted in?
So multiply.
Miles. So if 1 mile, or if 1 unit is 1/10 of a mile, how are we going to figure out what 1 4/10 is?
1.4 times 0.1.
It's
1.4
divided.
times, what do you get? 0 and 1400ths of a mile. So you could probably walk there, right?
I don't know. Far away.
Questions?
No.
Okay. So your homework is, first of all, how many blanks do you have left in your notebook of those guided notes? You have 2, right?
We're doing number 1 and 2 on page 434.
That is a great guess, but no. All right, on page, let's see. On page 437, you are going to do number 14 and 15 using the Pythagorean theorem. So you're going to have to draw in a right triangle. On number 15, I hope you're listening, I want you to change this coordinate point to 4, -2. So basically you're taking out the decimal. And then the second coordinate, I want you to change it to -1, -6. Again, you're basically taking out the decimal. Okay?
Wait, do we have to start writing on this?
On number 14 and number 15, you're going to graph and then use the Pythagorean theorem. So no, you will not use your notebook for that.
Oh, so
So we don't.
But, would you guys let me finish, please? On that same page, number 17 and 18, are you given a graph?
No, we got to
No. So what are you going to use?
do notebook.
The distance formula, and how many blanks do you have for those guided notes? 2. That's perfect. Okay? So numbers 17 and 18 need to go in those guided notes in your notebook. No, you do not have to do 16. That is your homework.
Or 19.
What?
Do 19.
You have 4 problems.
Rip the page out.